Hi, good afternoon. Thank you again for joining us. My name is Brock Berry. I'm the CEO and co-founder of AdCelerant. We really appreciate everybody joining this call. It's an impressive number of participants, a lot of exciting content, a lot of things that will probably be hitting close to home for everybody on the call. Before we get started, I'd like to introduce Melissa. Melissa, would you go ahead and do your own introduction there?
Yes, I'm Melissa Sheehan. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer here at AdCelerant, and I'm excited to talk with you all today about some trends that we are seeing among all of our advertisers across the country, what they're doing to adapt to the COVID-19 crisis, and some really tactical and tips that you can use to talk with advertisers in your own market.
Excellent. Okay, everyone, we should be all set to get started. We're going to go through this presentation in the next probably 30 minutes and leave plenty of time for questions. So if you have any questions, please feel free to type those into the chat. And at the end of the presentation, we'll make sure we answer all the questions. Everyone should be muted throughout this call other than the presenters, just to keep the background noise at a minimum. But again, thank you very much. No matter where in the world you are today, we really appreciate you joining us to talk a little bit about social distancing as a center to your advertising strategy. As I said, my name's Brock. I'm going to be the one kind of getting us started here today. I'm going to talk a little bit about who we are, what we do. I know we have plenty of our existing clients as well as some prospective clients. So we'll do a quick introduction. And then we're really going to focus on how COVID-19 is affecting consumers, how it's affecting consumer shopping, how it's affecting advertisers, and then what we're seeing specifically in the field and in new orders and specific creatives from many different categories that are currently still really active in spite of what's happening with social distancing and stay-at-home orders that are happening around the country. So real quick, AdCelerant, most of you, obviously, I'm assuming if you're on this call, you probably know who we are, but we're a technology and digital advertising company, and we're really focused on helping local advertisers get quality digital marketing into their businesses and using that to bring consumers in to buy their products and services. This is our passion. This is our project. We're excited that you're here with us. Somebody had just asked if this presentation will be distributed after the meeting. Absolutely. We'll have a copy of the presentation as well as a copy of this video, which I'm sure you'll all want to save and listen to on repeat in your free time. So thank you again. Real quick about us. We're an award-winning technology and marketing services company, really focused on bringing those Madison Avenue level digital marketing solutions to Main Street businesses. This is our passion project. We're excited to do it for you. We have a team of over 80 here in Denver, Colorado. We're proud that up to this point, in spite of COVID-19, we're not losing anyone on the team. We're excited to have those people. Some of them are a little less busy than usual, but we know that eventually this will rebound and they'll all be here to help you out no matter what your needs are and your advertisers' needs are. We leverage our proprietary technology platform that helps us really bring scale for sales, operation, and reporting through local marketing campaigns. Our partner network, those are the folks on this call, over 300 different media companies around the world. We're proud to be servicing them and tens of thousands of their local advertisers. AdCelerant is an award-winning company focused mostly on customer service, execution, and technology. We're proud to be one of the fastest growing companies in the country, and look forward to maintaining that as we continue to work with you and the rest of our partners. So what are we doing other than content like today? We're focused on that technology platform I was talking about. That platform is helping our partners build proposals, put together really sweet sales enablement solutions for their team, training, that type of thing. Once those things start to build into real orders or real opportunities, that same platform's focused on automation and optimization. So it's getting all the fulfillment things executed tight and right for your advertisers, and then bringing it out in reporting so we can show the advertiser we did what we said we would do. Our professional services department is the key behind that technology, with a big, huge portion of those 80 team members are focused on fulfilling your campaigns. And then finally, bringing all this stuff together for all these different platforms that you see down here on the right. So everything that we're about ready to talk about on this call, our team can help you with, or is probably already helping you with. And we really do appreciate working with every one of you. Thank you very much. So what's happening? What's the trends? I don't know about you, but my life has changed dramatically in the last month. A month ago, I was in Miami at the Burrell conference, and the next week I was at home and haven't left my house since. It has been a terrifyingly tragic turn of events in the world today, and I try to make light of it. But yes, our consumer shopping, our consumer patterns have changed dramatically. Here's some information from Google. They're calling it Google's mobility data. And this is data that they're providing just for free out there in the field. There's a link in this presentation. And it's focused on the national numbers, but you and your local markets can click this link later after this meeting, and you can go and see what's specific to your state. It does vary by state because the stay-at-home orders and what's happening across our country is changing almost daily, and it is different in every community. The big takeaway here, though, is traffic is down. Stuff that we know that's obvious, things like retail and recreation traffic is definitely down, and we know why that is. We can see the baseline before the shutdowns, and we can see it afterwards. But what's maybe more interesting are things like grocery and pharmacy. We would expect those numbers maybe to be up, but even though that's a necessity for everybody in your local communities, it's still an area where people are trying to go less often. So as we think about this and we use data to make decisions, we want to understand, what does this data mean to us as marketers and as consultants for advertisers? A few other data points to note here. Clearly, even parks, and even though I go to the park next to my house, I still see a lot of people there, but the average traffic is still down. People are worried, and they're understandably concerned about their own safety, which is causing a lot of normal behaviors for everybody in every community to change pretty dramatically. And we got to take that into consideration as we work with our local advertisers. And the thing that we know for sure is people are spending more time at home. So as we think about these things, we have to find ways to use this data to our advantage, and that's what this presentation is all about today. So what are the inferences? 90% of Americans are under, I think it's actually 94%, I was updated on this stat this morning, are under stay-at-home orders. These are orders that are greatly restricting their movement within their communities, and we want to make sure we understand those stay-at-home orders, because it's our job as marketing consultants to help advertisers find a way to navigate this really unusual, market situation that we're in. So what's the consumer sentiment about these stay-at-home orders, and what are they doing? How are they reacting and thinking about things? The first thing we know is a lot of consumers are finding it reassuring to hear from the brands they know and trust. I find it reassuring myself. I have some of my favorite restaurants that I get emails from. They tell me that I can still get my favorite food. I don't like spending all of my time in my house, and so it's a little bit of a transition for me. But if I can go at least bring some of my favorite things that happen outside of my home into my home, that's a big deal. 15% of people say they don't want to hear from their favorite brands right now. I think that's a pretty amazing number, that 85% of people are not saying that. So I think, again, it means that consumers want to hear from the businesses in their community. 40% want to hear what brands are doing in response to the pandemic. Those are things like, how are they keeping their employees safe? How are they keeping their customers safe? And then 60% are happy to hear about brands taking actions that are charitable or altruistic in nature, and giving back to their communities. I think that's a real good feel good. People are hearing plenty of negative news. When they can hear something positive about their advertisers, or from their advertisers, or their, not advertisers, but their local businesses, about what they're doing in their communities, that makes them feel good. People need good news today, especially maybe more than ever. Consumers are still planning and shopping and buying. They're just doing more of it either through delivery, carry out, or online. So things are changing. Consumer shopping is changing, but they're still spending money. And I think that's what's key. I think it's key that we are talking to our advertisers about the fact that still over half people plan on spending the same money that they typically spend They're just having to find a different way to do it. And here are some examples of how they are doing it. As we look at this, we see food and beverage is up tremendously. We see that the number of people, oops, sorry about that. We see that the number of people searching for takeout is up almost 300%. So there's a lot of different things that we're seeing out there in the communities. And I think it's our job to kind of take advantage of these statistics and make sure that we're doing what we can to service the clients that can benefit from this stuff. How are brands responding, right? So we know how consumers are responding. We know that their lives are changing rapidly and very dramatically. How are brands responding? 63% of advertisers are adjusting their message strategy. That's a lot of what we're going to talk about today. Okay, so we won't spend any more time on that, but there's a ton of content in here about this. We have 42% of marketers that are plan to switch to purpose-driven marketing or cause-related marketing. A lot of people are increasing audience targeting. I think what's happening is, the focus on hitting the exact right audience with the exact right message is becoming more important because the fact is that people need to be able to be effective and efficient with their marketing dollars. A lot of people are going to be increasing the amount of money that they're or the targeting that they're doing for OTT or CTV. There's a tremendous amount of streaming activity happening out there, and marketers go where eyeballs go. That hasn't changed even during a pandemic. 67%, almost 7 out of 10, are suggesting that they have not changed their ad investment strategies or dollar amounts yet for Q3 and Q4. That is important for all of us on the phone. I think everybody here stands to gain or lose based on how much money advertisers are going to spend on advertising. So it's nice to know that at least currently we can expect a pretty strong rebound in the third or fourth quarter, depending on what happens or how this develops over the next few weeks. So what are advertisers doing? What are we seeing in the field? Before we get into that, I'm going to kick it over to Melissa here in a second. We talk about critical businesses. This has become almost a buzzworthy buzz term out there. And we're wondering, what does that really mean? What is a critical business? So these are all the differences, just a map talking about where we have statewide orders or orders in parts of the states or no orders at all, where people are being, advised or suggested or ordered to stay at home. Okay. And when that happens, the government then asks non-critical businesses to effectively shut down so they can limit the spread of the virus. So what are critical businesses? I think that's key because those are the people that we're going to be talking to and working on advertising campaigns with. Some of them are obvious, and I'm not going to read all these because you're going to get the presentation after this. But when our research, we did more of a national role at this because it does change by community. So I had to put that out there. You may have to do some of your own research in your own communities. But these top category, this top group here with the green check mark, these are groups that are naturally going to be included as critical businesses. These are also very common advertisers or marketers that we as advertising companies are already working with. So I think now is a tremendously important time for us to make sure we're connecting with these folks, asking them what their strategies are, how are they supporting people as a critical business. So maybe turning advertising discussions from standard things to what is your critical responsibility during the pandemic, right? Or these here at the state level depends. Sometimes liquor stores, dispensaries, gun stores, hardware stores, these can all be considered critical, but it is a little bit more of a community by community basis. We have to look into those things. So I want to get it to Melissa here. Melissa, are you hearing from any of these industries here? I mean, you're in the front lines and out there in the thick of this with our advertisers and our media partners. What are you seeing here? Are these the industries we're seeing?
Absolutely. We are hearing from each and every one of these industries almost daily. And in many ways, they are pivoting to, just like you said a minute ago, to really speak to those consumers who are at a different location. Foot traffic is not at a high right now. And these are definitely the areas where we're seeing the most amount of buzz. We're getting requests for proposals and orders for new campaigns in these industries on a daily basis.
Yes, I mean that's just a great segue. I mean, Melissa's going to really take it over from here, but I think the thing that we want to make sure we're telling companies that we work with and other companies that we may not be working with today is that we're still seeing a tremendous amount of advertiser activity in spite of what's happening. And this is all based on what people need and what people want. And the fact is although that we've talked about, they're at home more now than ever. They're still looking for ways to be able to have a normal life. I mean, I know for myself, I'm not a stay-at-home person. This whole stay-at-home thing is drives me a little crazy. So I am always searching almost all day of different things I can go find, buy, and bring home and pretend like I'm not at my house. Maybe I'm just weird like that, but I do think that there's a ton of consumers that are similar to me, and they're looking for ways to escape and just try to get back to some form of normalcy. So Melissa, why don't you talk about what we're seeing with our customers?
Yeah, so throughout the deck, we will have a check mark for some of those businesses that we know are critical businesses, and then that question mark for those that, may be a critical business or not, depending on your area. I think we all know that restaurants and bars were affected first. Those were the first to be ordered to shut down, and they have gotten really scrappy. And so we've been talking with local restaurants and how to get creative with connecting with their loyal customers. Brock told me a story, I think it was the first week that we were all at home. He and his family loved to go to a restaurant, and they don't normally do delivery. And so what did you guys do, Brock?
That's exactly right. I we got the menu out, and I was talking to my wife, and I was asking her, I said, what do you want me to order? And she starts talking about these different things. I said, I think you can get anything on the menu. And she said, they never do that. They have all these things that are restricted because they don't want the food to taste poor or whatever. I said, I have a feeling they'll do whatever you want them to do as long as you're willing to go pick it up. And I called them, and that was exactly it. There was a ton of things in the menu that they never, like sushi, they won't typically allow you to carry out. They were allowing you to do anything carry out of that place. So the world is changing fast.
Yeah, and with that change, the restaurants I think have to adapt, and they are. A lot of them are communicating with their current customers and their local community about takeout options, curbside pickup. Talk to these businesses. As a media company, you have the ability to connect with them and give them ideas. They are looking for ideas. They are looking for hope and creativity from you. And so talk to them about what you're seeing from other advertisers. We're seeing family meal options are being advertised. Date night packages. We're all stuck at home. We don't have the ability to have that special time. But like Brock mentioned, if we can kind of convert our backyard or a room in our house for a nice date night and have that package to pick up, that goes a long way. A couple ways to target. We can target previous customers through our device ID technology, really just drawing a geofence around and then pulling who's been there, pre-COVID shutdown in the last 6 months. But anybody is a target right now. Families, foodies who have dined out within the last 30 days. We also have targeting available by genre of restaurant, if it's a Chinese or Mexican restaurant that people are interested in. So there's lots of ways for these restaurants to advertise, and we'll show some examples on this page. You can see very simple creative, all of your favorites to go, place an order today, right? We know that local consumers want to support their local restaurants. And so giving them a reason to do that is the first step. Inform them also about the safety and the care that is being taken to keep the employees healthy, that the care that's taken when they maybe drop off or deliver, or when that take-out order comes. Use and lean into that social distancing message because it resonates with a lot of consumers today. Some of the advertising tactics that we are seeing are attention to local SEO. You can see that this is an example of a sushi restaurant down the street from me. You can see they're not offering dine-in, but this is updated. They have delivery and takeout. Their phone number is there. They have a click to ordering now. This is a great place for you to make sure that your restaurants, and look, see if they have this updated. There may be some opportunity for us to help them. And then utilizing device ID, like I mentioned a minute ago, advertise to those diners who were at the restaurant pre-COVID-19. Serve them ads today. That's their loyal base. That'll really help them to be able to communicate with those customers and appeal to them to come back in and support that restaurant. One of the categories that we are seeing the most movement in right now is home services. I think with so many people at home, they're finally looking around their house. I know I have been nagging my husband for months to fix our patio door, and now he actually has the time to do it. The weekends are freer. We're not out and about as much. I talked to another colleague, and they're getting an estimate on their roof. We're hearing from home services companies that people are contacting them because they're around their house, and maybe they need to spruce it up. So what we're encouraging those companies to do, and what we're seeing their advertising, is offering savings to encourage them, whether it's cleaning those carpets, building a new deck or an outdoor area, also leveraging low interest rates to incentivize any larger home projects. Projects like flooring and paint and basement and kitchen and bathroom remodels, roofing and decks. Another creative idea is we've seen somebody offer social distancing if they're going to maybe drop off some supplies, or do-it-yourself kits with instructions for a set cost. There are some hardware stores and home services companies that are actually kind of leaning into an educational slant to help homeowners figure out how to do some of this themselves, and then charge them a nominal fee in order to do those things. So targeting includes homeowners within the service area. I think anybody and everybody is looking for ways to get busy around the house because they know that they're homebound. And then layering in household income for maybe some of those larger projects. You can see from these ads that we've got on the right-hand side of the page, we have a deck company, right? It says very clearly, we're open. Curbside pickup. In some cases, these hardware stores are considered essential businesses. So check with your local sources in order to find out. But it also appeals. You can see that this is appealing to that consumer, to support that local business. And that's a message we're seeing over and over again. The other thing that we're seeing, and that some of the details Brock mentioned, is that the messaging is also anybody who is donating to a specific cause. You can see this window company. They're offering a big percentage off. They're offering 0 down and 0 interest, and a portion of every sale will go to a local food bank. So this is the way that some of these home services companies are really trying to appeal to their customers. As far as advertising is concerned, we're also saying, focus on what critical work can be done. Play with the concept of free time. Weekends may not be as they were. We're at home more. And as such, staying busy is sometimes a great thing to do around the house. So, know that home services is heavily offer driven, and making sure that you focus on value, on safety, and those types of things. The ad tactics that we are seeing work is, display targeting, giving that homeowner that idea, and then, followed up by paid search. Once they're ready to execute, that's also something that they're going to be looking for. Higher education. I think everybody is, sorry for high school seniors this year, and anyone graduating from college. It's a big bummer that the timing of this, but for higher education, this is an opportunity for
everybody who has kids where you're teaching them at home, because we have a kindergartner and a first grader. I'm sorry for those parents as well. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Many of us on the call are doing that. No, go ahead. Sorry, keep going.
But, focusing on those who we know are going to be going to college in the fall, or returning for college in the fall. Focus on parents of ages 17 plus. My niece turned 17 today. She's definitely looking at college. And, being in front of her, trying to make sure that she's aware of all of the hope and the dreams that we want her to fulfill for the coming years is important. Making sure that if that's the undergrad message, you have a graduate message. A lot of people might be pivoting their career and trying to look at different skills for their future. And so appealing to those different targets is a really great way to stay in front of and, keep advertising to those folks that will return. Here are some examples of some of the higher education that we've seen. We've got some colleges are, waiving application fees through the month of April. Some of them are appealing to, helping students keep their, dreams going with an emergency fund. The communication that we're seeing is, given urgency with enrollment or deadlines, really speak to those audiences and their buying factors. Is it finishing a degree, earning a degree, or completing a higher level? With this, targeting is really important. Make sure that those layers have the right message. As far as the advertising tactics are concerned, higher education really runs the full funnel. Getting in front of them with a targeted display ad, making sure that you stay in front of them if, they're in that segment, and then, following them around with Facebook or email and paid search. Those are all really great tactics that we're seeing coming out of that industry. E-learning. E-learning is becoming a bigger and bigger need. And this is kind of what Brock alluded to. We both have elementary school kids. And I don't think either one of us knew that we would become both a professional and a parent and a teacher all at once. And so making sure that you're contacting some of these e-learning centers could be a great way to help them connect with families like ours, or connect with people who, like my niece, who is, hoping to go to college and might need a little bit of extra study time. So, differentiating what those folks are offering, leveraging in on, people who are lifelong learners, people who are parents who are struggling to keep their kids busy and active, and making sure that you are contacting tutoring centers and those types of places are great targets and best practices. So what we're seeing is everything across the board, from higher education all the way down to the tutoring center down the street. Those guys are coming out because they know that e-learning is going to be an answer for a lot of people these days. Like we said, communicate that urgency, speak to those audience. Targeting really matters here. If you're targeting a family with elementary school students, that's a lot different than an MBA graduate student program. Customize that messaging to make sure that it matches that audience, and use that full funnel approach in order to make sure that you're reaching people at the top of the funnel and all the way down at the bottom. So if you're like me and you're putting off your taxes, you definitely want to hear if you can save any more money, if you're going to have to pay, or if you can get a bigger refund this year. We know we're all going to be a little bit more strapped in a lot of cases. And so with the tax deadline moving to July 15th, tax professionals have an opportunity to really get out in front of a large group of people that haven't filed. They probably pumped the brakes when this started going on, and anyone who got news that they didn't have to file is likely holding off or needing to consult somebody to make sure that that return is as big as possible. So this is a great time to target people who owe money to the IRS, to offer services, formalize that plan, gain new clients. It could be a great way to communicate to potential clients and let them know that you're a trusted advisor. Targeting those folks that haven't filed those taxes. Seniors is also a really good target for these tax professionals. And we'll look at a little bit more at some of the ads that we're seeing. You know, you can see in the middle here, this purple ad, they speak exactly to the demo that they should be. Are you putting off your 2019 taxes? Well, consider working with a professional. That was what the messaging should be. You know, making sure that businesses also is a really big point. Our business owners are going to need accounting and tax professionals probably more than ever right now. So making sure, again, that we're either, whether it's a B2B target or a consumer target, making sure that that targeting and that message matches up, that's the most crucial thing. And those tactics that we recommend, similar. Really, we're consuming more news and information on a daily basis than we ever have before. So using targeted display ads on those news and information websites is a great way to start getting in front of them, followed up by an email and then a paid search campaign. So automotive service and sales, and I did see somebody in the chat box ask about this a minute ago. Automotive service is an essential business. You know, just this morning I heard a commercial on the radio from a local auto service company talking about how they are helping consumers during this COVID-19 crisis. You know, they were advertising, drop off your car, and, you know, we are social distancing. We'll address your need, sanitize your car, sanitize your keys, and leave it for you at a specific place. So they were very specific about the value that they could offer, the steps that they are taking in order to ensure the safety of both their employees and you as a consumer. So, you know, and auto sales, you know, have a great opportunity to appeal to a lot of those customers who may be, frankly, in their car for more road trips this summer. When this lifts, and it will lift, I think that a lot of things that we've read say that the road trips might be something that families consider before hopping on a plane right away. And so making sure that both from a service side and a sales side, that you're appealing to those business owners and those individuals and those families who are ready to hit the open road. I think that that's one of the favorite pastimes that some of our employees have right now. I talked to one of them this morning, and he's going to spend the weekend just taking a long drive so that he can, see what he can see from a safe distance. So these are some of the messages we are seeing. On the service side, a really simple message that we are open. Not all consumers know which businesses are essential and which ones are not. And so as much as information is out there, businesses have an opportunity and media companies have an opportunity really to educate and guide all of the consumers during this time. So for service, offers and reminders are really important. Also, like I mentioned, that commercial, relaying information about what your company is doing to ensure the health and safety of customers. And then, targeting tactics, like I said, get in front of those folks while they are on those news and information websites with a targeted display ad, and follow those up with things like emails with special offers and paid search ads if they are searching for somebody near them. For the sales side, I've seen everything from offering delivery, talking about incentives and low interest rates, and leaning on social distance buying. I had an auto dealer call me not too long ago, and he asked, hey, I can still meet with you virtually. We can go over and I can show you what's on the lot, and we can offer social distancing and a safe environment. Advertising tactics to consider on the sales side also run that full funnel. And, some of the messages that these auto dealers are putting out there are simply to stay top of mind. Knowing that Chevy cares, that the local Chevy dealer cares about the community is a great way to just stay top of mind. So when the time is right, they will be the first thought in that consumer's head. Healthcare, I think that's on the top of everyone's mind today, and making sure whether it's a hospital, a clinic, a doctor's office, even veterinary clinics. They're all on that essential businesses list. But again, communicating with those consumers and letting them know that you're available is a first step. So making sure that, some of those hospitals are big employers and big parts of the community. And now is not the time to stay silent. Communicate about how to interact, communicate about how to interact with their brand, but also with each other. I've seen messages that simply say, wash your hands, or that have an FAQ on symptoms of COVID, or here's what to do if you suspect that you might be sick, things like that. Targeting parents with young children or any age children, senior citizens, and really just anyone in the community about what you have to offer, how you can get care if you need it, whether it be COVID related or not. That's what we're seeing. And on some of these ads, you'll see that they do have, specific information to coronavirus, but we're also seeing ads that are specific to other things like knee replacements. That's a really long buying cycle. And as people are at home and maybe trying to be more active outside, some of the medical services that we're seeing are continuing to advertise because they know that once people return to their daily life and activities, that they're going to need to be top of mind. So make sure that you're advising these folks to tailor those messages to speak to who their target market is, whether it's speaking to customers about how to get a telehealth appointment or speaking to that weekend warrior that needs that knee replacement and maybe should start scheduling it out for 6 months from now. Advertising tactics, again, follow along that full funnel strategy to connect with all of those customers. And last but not least, we're going to talk about the fitness industry. I think that we've all heard encouraging messages about, whether you get outside and take a walk or go into your backyard in order to do lunges, play soccer with your kids. Fitness is important right now. And some of these smaller gyms really need our help. They need our guidance in how to pivot and adapt to this new world. So talking to them about offering personalized workout plans, virtual classes. Some of those, they can have an e-commerce platform so people can sign up and pay. Even if they don't, just staying top of mind right now and offering this encouragement and service is a great way for them to earn future business. Who to target is really just about anyone. Targeting those health and fitness enthusiasts and people, think about using our historical look back device ID. People who used to be at the gym, they might be suffering. They might really want to get out and do something. And so that's a great way to find some people who are in that target market. And so whether, you take the angle to have a virtual Pilates class online, or whether you just say, hey, we're a gym, but we're going to give you a free pass as soon as we're ready to open. Just staying top of mind can be really important right now. Spotlighting on the communication side, ways to stay active at home, tips for workouts, before and after photos, those are all great ways to communicate. And we would be remiss if we didn't talk about e-commerce and retail. Earlier we talked about all of the increases, everything from apparel to home decor have had an increase in online sales. And we know that 85% of shoppers are going to research before purchasing online. And so making sure as a retailer that you are either looking for an e-commerce solution if you don't have one yet, or that you're communicating with your customers about how to buy from you can be really important, whether it be the next week, 2 months from now, or in the future. It's vital to make sure that you are communicating with your customers throughout this time so that you can maintain that customer base after this lift. And that's one of the things that, the resources that we are working on actively. At the bottom of the page, our digital storefront, our team is putting together packages to help small local businesses set up e-commerce. This could be anything from a restaurant to a boutique. We want to make sure that these companies have the ability to pivot and reach their customers online. A few other things that we are doing is we're providing industry content, kind of like we've gone through today, and we will continue to roll out examples that we're seeing across the country, advertising strategies, business pivots and concepts, and creative samples. Another thing that we did is, we were planning on rolling out a new email solution in late April, but we fast-tracked that because we know that savings and results is most important right now. We're providing rates that are 30% lower than our historic rates, 10% below our competition. And we know that this solution provides better results through our tests, and we're passing that along to all of our partners. We are also working with our partners to conduct webinars like this. If you have an idea and want to get in front of customers, we will help you host a webinar to give them some of this same information. And if you're a prospective customer, contacting us in order to, develop a relationship, these are all things that could be available to you with a partnership as well. And local news retargeting. I think that every media company that I have talked to has seen an increase from 20% to 200% in the number of page views and visitors that they have had, because they are a trusted local resource. So we've offered a low rate so that you can retarget readers who have been to your website and when they go to other national websites, and pass that along to your advertisers as a way to communicate with the local community. We really appreciate you guys taking the time to listen to us and talk a little bit about some of these ideas. We're going to open it up for Q&A, and we see some already in the box. When we pass out the copy of this presentation, if there's not a source on the page, it'll be in the notes field of the PowerPoint so that you can take a look at the sources that we looked at. It's everything from the IAB to Forbes and others.
So just a couple of the questions. One question was, is HVAC a critical category? Definitely going to be a critical category, and what a great category for us as media companies. We typically have strong relationships with HVAC companies, and depending on the city that you're in and the climate effectively that you work within, we're seeing a lot of activity from getting air conditioning systems sort of geared up to just doing a full sort of set, like closing down on furnaces and things like that. So there's a ton of different work that's happening in that space. And I think, Melissa sort of covered this in the services slides, but, people are using messaging such as, we can do a virtual kind of inspection, meaning kind of FaceTiming to assess what needs to be done. And then once that assessment is done, we'll send out a technician, and the tech will be, with gloves and a mask, and, will not be around anybody in your home, and will disinfect. I mean, all the things, right, that people are going to be really excited and really care about having as a part of that experience, if you will. Someone is asking about the auto industry. Melissa, what would you say? Are you hearing more from manufacturers or brands, regional marketing, tier 2? What do you feel like we're getting the most activity out of right now?
I think that we're hearing from all of the above. I think that mostly what we're hearing is from, individual dealer groups. A lot of them are focusing on service right now versus sales, depending on where they at and what the restrictions are in their community. But we are also hearing from some of those like regionals who are putting out messages, and nationals who are putting out messages like Chevy Cares and those types of things, to make sure that they're staying top of mind with people who are in that buying segment and will be in the near future.
Yeah, totally. And you saw some of the example messaging that we're seeing from marketers right now. And it is, again, it's just people pivoting their business model. Melissa was telling me a story this morning about how her local Volvo dealership called her and said, it was a salesperson saying, if you're in the market for a car, I'd love to do a virtual walk of the lot with you and show you some vehicles. And if there's one you like, I can get you set up. You don't even have to come in. So there's a ton of activity in that space. They're not, those are, for everybody on the phone who's sold and worked with car dealers before, those people are as entrepreneurial as they come. They're not going to give up during this. That's for sure. Will we send out the sample ad samples? Yes. Here's actually some more on accident. I didn't mean to show you that right away, but yeah, we'll be sending out all those as we get as a final copy of this presentation. Um, how do you target people or businesses who haven't filed their taxes? Okay. So I know Melissa had mentioned that on a previous slide. There's not going to be a specific data segment for people who have not filed their taxes. It's more of a message around taxes right now. And if you think about, if you're an accounting company or an accountant and you typically run marketing to get more business, normally most of those people have been busy for the last 6-8 weeks, and they were about ready to go into the slowest time of their year, okay, because everybody would have filed their taxes and everything would be done. Now, because of what's happening, there's the natural extension, their sales period, if you will, just got extended as well. So for all of those folks, they can't go on vacation anyway because none of us are allowed to leave our houses. So they're, on the other hand, what they can do is they can continue to market, and they actually, because they have more time than they usually do, being busy for 8 weeks. I mean, sometimes it's hard to even get a call back from an accountant during pre-tax time. There's almost, what is that, May, June, July? There's almost 3 more months that they can effectively work with, consumers, file taxes, set people up. So the sales window for accountants just got a lot larger, and they can go capture greater market share or more people who may want help with their taxes. And as Melissa said, I think people want help now more than ever, because if they can save a few dollars, get a few more dollars in their return, or maybe have to pay a little less, that's going to be more important to them today than ever before, I would say. Let's see here. Someone had asked if we're going to be sending this out afterwards. Absolutely. We'll be sending out a copy of the presentation as well as a copy of the video. So if there's anything you missed, you can watch that. Melissa, here's a good question. I want to get your opinion on it because you're seeing a lot more of the tactical stuff in the field. What are some of those financial institutions? What are some of the things that they should be doing to engage customers while their lobbies are closed?
Yeah, so we are seeing that those financial institutions are leaning more on e-banking, making sure that customers know how to access their accounts remotely. Also, we've seen some messages from some financial institutions. Business still has to continue. If you're in the process of closing a loan, they are offering virtual loan applications and virtual meetings in order to go over some of those financial needs. And we will have some more industry content coming out about financial institutions, because we are seeing them, talk to consumers right now. We're seeing everything from credit unions to financial planners who are, talking about how they can help individuals in just about every demographic in order to help them, save money, keep money, and come out of this healthier financially.
Yeah, great. That's great. I think those are all good points. There's a ton of opportunity right now in finance. The number of emails I receive every day as a business owner regarding this is just out of this world. I think they are probably more active from a sales and marketing perspective than I've ever seen them in the 7 years I've been doing this job, at least. We had another question, great question. It's a really interesting one, and I probably would not have thought of this even as a category right off the cuff. But what would you suggest for laundromats? I have a client who owns 3 different locations, and they've yet to do digital. It's a really interesting question. I think instinctively, I would almost try to take a page out of what you're seeing grocery stores do, right? If you are if you are in a situation where you don't have access to laundry uh, on site or within your home or your apartment, you're going to have to go to a public facility. Now, those people have the same concerns that those people who have it in their homes have, and that is safety. I would imagine safety being one of the most important things. And depending on how busy these laundromats are, I would inquire about that. If you go to the grocery store near my house, they've gotten it to the point where there's only a certain number of people allowed in at a time. Um, a lot of these folks, so there's a certain number of people are allowed in at one time. Everyone has to be wearing a mask, and they've created almost like walkways to keep traffic in a situation where like the aisles are one way aisles now. You can't go up and down the aisles both ways. So they've done everything they can to control traffic, to control the pace, and to keep people where social distancing is a simple thing for people to maintain. And they're also cleaning constantly. Like every time someone checks out, they're cleaning the register. These are things that I think you can do very effectively in digital marketing. And I think the argument for digital marketing is probably a lot of what Melissa's been saying throughout this presentation. And that is, you know, people are online now more than ever. And it's one of the easiest ways to reach them, one of the most personal ways to reach them. So I think that would be kind of my approach to that. Someone had typed in here, I love we had a group feedback going, which is amazing. Somebody said most laundromats have drop-off service too. If that's the case, what an incredible service. Now I don't even have to go risk anything, right? What a great opportunity. I can get in there and do that, no problem. All right. Hey, Melissa, what do you think about this one? Any ideas for healthcare clinics that don't have telehealth appointments available? Apparently, a lot of them are closing now.
Yeah, I would say that one, I would ask them why, because I think that it's a great way to stay connected with your patients and services. And I have seen everything from web clinics who are updating their ads or their websites that say how to contact them through email. So if they have an urgent need, I think that they can contact through email and do a phone triage with a nurse or with a doctor, and then talk to them about what are some of the ways that, or what is their particular differentiator. I would like to know a little bit more about what kind of clinic it might be, and what else might they be doing to stay connected with the general public as they can. There's a huge need for healthcare clinics to stay open right now. So I would like to know more, and we can always talk offline about that particular healthcare clinic and how they might be struggling with telehealth, and see if there's some opportunities for us to help them out.
So we are about at the top of the hour. We're going to keep answering questions until we run exactly out of time. If there's any question we don't get to before we're out of time, we will write you a note with the specific answer to your question. So no problem. We really love all these questions, by the way. Melissa, I want to put you on the spot one more time, if you don't mind. I have a great question here. We've launched a restaurant device ID targeting strategy that Melissa mentioned during the restaurant section, where we're focusing on looking at, for a restaurant that maybe only had dine-in before, looking at everybody who'd been in the restaurant in the last 6 months, and then trying to send them messages related to carry out or delivery. So the question is, we launched this a few weeks ago. Do we have any good success stories, or any updates, I guess, as it relates to traction with that?
Yeah, we've seen some restaurant chains actually increase their digital spend in order to, and also look at different pockets of where they are advertising. And so we are seeing success. We are seeing strong engagements. I was talking with one of our account managers yesterday, and the click-through rates on these things are like 3 and 4 times what we would normally see. Like I mentioned, we are really, focused on news and information, and that's where these ads appear. They're on that mobile device while you're browsing at the end of the day or midday or whenever, and they're so well targeted because you're targeting people based on the fact that they've actually been to that restaurant or they've been to a similar restaurant. So we're seeing, click-through rates. We usually pull the foot traffic data once a month, and so it might be a little too soon to look at, obviously we think it will be down because there are fewer people, dining in just by nature of, just pick up and take out. But the cool thing is that we can also match back to a delivery address. And so now that these restaurants can't lean on foot traffic, but if they are pivoting to a delivery, they have that home address, they can send that to us, and we can do a match to see how many people did we serve an ad to that then ordered. And so, but early indicators is these click-through rates are, going gangbusters and really reaching people at a time where they need that message.
Okay, last
Great
question.
question.
1 minute left. Thanks, Melissa. I'm gonna throw just this seems like an easy thing to answer, but I'm not even sure if I'm gonna hit the point that's being asked. But somebody said, what about a industry hotel that's 2 hours outside of a major infected city? So just generally in terms of travel, one thing that I've seen that I think is a super creative thing that I would have never seen outside of what we're currently dealing with. You have a lot of hotels that are offering, or resorts that are offering a stay deal. Maybe it's a week or a weekend or whatever stay deal, a certain number of nights with lodging and other accommodations that come along with that. And the person can book it right now, but they don't have to give dates, and they have 24 months to use it. So these are deals for the consumer. It's cash today for the resort or the hotel or the travel company. But the consumer's not picking a time because unfortunately, we can all agree this will end, but there's not been any agreement on when it's going to end, unfortunately. So, that's a really creative way around that problem. I do know that some hotels, especially around major infected areas, have been marketing specifically to people that are traveling in the medical field as well, because there's a lot of people traveling around right now in the medical field coming in to triage and support a highly infected area because they don't have enough medical field team members today in the local community naturally. So there's a couple different ideas. I hope that helps answer the question. We are totally out of time. You guys have all been amazing. Thank you so much for all the questions. If we didn't get to them, we'll try to get to them via written response. But thank you so much. Incredible.